At exactly 9:17 a.m., a bus pulled into a small town. The driver stopped, opened the doors, and waited. No one came out. No one got on. The streets were empty. Cars were parked like normal. Doors were unlocked. It looked like people had just stepped away. But the entire town was gone. No bodies. No warning. No explanation. This is the story of Angikuni Lake. Angikuni Lake was a small Inuit settlement in northern Canada. Cold, remote, quiet. Around 30 to 40 people lived there. Families, hunters, elders. They depended on each other to survive brutal winters. Nothing strange ever happened there. Until one day, in November 1930, a fur trapper named Joe LaBelle was traveling through the area. Joe knew this village well. He had stopped there many times before. The people trusted him. But as he got closer to Angikuni Lake, something felt off. There was no smoke rising from the chimneys. In that kind of cold, that's a big deal. People always kept fires burning. Joe called out. No answer. He walked into the village. The first cabin looked normal. Too normal. Inside, there was food over a fire. Not burned. Not cold. Just left. In another home, a meal was sitting on the table. Untouched. Rifles were still leaning against the walls. Heavy fur clothing was still there. Everything someone would need to survive. Still inside the houses. But no people. Joe searched the entire village. Every home. Every building. Nothing. No footprints leading away. No signs of a fight. No blood. Then Joe walked over to the cemetery. And that's when things got worse. The graves had been opened. Not by animals. Not by weather. They were cleanly opened. And they were empty. The bodies were gone. Think about that for a second. The living were missing. And now, so were the dead. Joe panicked. He left the village immediately. He traveled for miles through freezing conditions until he reached a telegraph station. He contacted the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. At first, they didn't believe him. A whole town doesn't just disappear. But when officers finally arrived, they saw exactly what Joe described. An empty village, frozen in time. The police searched the area for weeks. That's when they found something else disturbing. The sled dogs. They were still tied up. Many had starved to death. This shocked investigators. Inuit communities never abandoned their dogs. Ever. Dogs were essential for travel and survival. Leaving them behind made no sense. Authorities tried to find a logical explanation. Maybe the villagers moved? That didn't add up. Some people were elderly. Others were sick. They couldn't travel far. What about an attack? There were no bodies. No weapons. No damage. A storm? There were no tracks. Not even frozen ones. It was like everyone vanished at the exact same moment. As the investigation continued, strange reports started coming in. Some locals said they saw blue lights in the sky around that time. Others talked about a sudden silence. No animals. No birds. Even experienced officers said the area felt wrong. Quiet in a way they couldn't explain. Over the years, people came up with theories. One idea was a natural disaster. Maybe thin ice broke, or toxic gas leaked from the ground. Another theory says the story was exaggerated over time, that newspapers made it sound scarier than it really was. But here's the problem. Police records confirm the investigation, and no official explanation ever closed the case. Some believe the villagers were forced to leave. But forced by what? There were no signs of panic. No packed supplies. No preparations. Whatever happened, happened fast. The darkest theory is also the simplest. Something external intervened. Something sudden. Something the villagers couldn't fight or escape. Because if they had time, they would have taken their clothes, their weapons, their dogs. They would have taken something. Today, Anjikuni Lake is still empty. No memorial. No rebuilt homes. Just frozen land. If you walk through the area now, you can still find traces of where people once lived. But no voices. No footsteps. Just silence. So what really happened to Angikuni Lake? Was it a forgotten tragedy? A misunderstood story? Or something we still don't have an answer for? Because whatever happened that night left nothing behind. What do you think happened? Leave a comment below and don't forget to subscribe.